know, unless we change the actual purpose of the planning board, it won't matter who's on it or how many members we have. They're still just going to rubber stamp what the special interests want. Now, I've attended a number of planning board meetings, and I can tell you that it's utterly shocking when you hear the residents come out and demand what they want for themselves, because after all, this is our government, right? And then the planning board just goes ahead and rubber stamps the developer. It is a joke. It's disconcerting, it's upsetting, and it forces you to recognize that our government is no longer ours. Thank you.
So I concur with both of these women. I think that we ourselves are our best judges on what we need in this community. We ourselves are the ones that determine what is going to be our biggest assets. We need our planning board to also be part of our community, to realize what we want is crucial. And we need them to be educated, we need them to take what the community needs in effect. I don't think we necessarily need more, we just need better. Thank you.
I just want to follow up on the last question, because I thought of something, because recently the state of Maryland has fallen behind in terms of education, and Massachusetts is #1. And then I thought about Massachusetts has double the amount of per pupil spending. So I think one of the things that we need to do when we're on the county council is get our legislators at the state to increase funding for education when in our county. In regards to the planning board, I think that the individuals on the planning board should be representative of inclusiveness in our county. We are a very diverse county, and we have a lot of expertise in our county, and I want to make sure that anyone that is representative on the planning board represents the community. Thank you.
Well, thank you. My time starts now, right? No, I'm just kidding. Well, I agree that we do not need any more new members, but what we do need is quality of members. So in that sense, I agree that we cannot be the rubber stamp for DPZ. Thank you.
It sounds unanimous. I also agree 100%, especially with what Deb said. The process as is kind of set up for residents to fail. DPZ comes in and essentially sponsors what is being asked for by a developer. The planning board gives very little credit to what is said by usually a large number of affected constituents who are there, concerned about what a typical development is going to have in their immediate neighborhood. And those appeals to apply the law, to look at the impacts, are generally discarded quite summarily, and everyone goes home very dissatisfied with the process. I'm not certain that the planning board is mandated to have on its membership someone from each of the districts, and especially in District 1 where the overcrowding happens, we need to know that we have representation on a board like that that's making decisions that have the impacts that it does. So if there was going to be a change to the planning board, I'd like to see a requirement that it adequately and fairly represent all 5 of the districts that it affects. Thank you.
John is committed to improving the development and zoning processes and improve public participation and encourage greater collaboration. In terms of the specific question about changing the number of people on the planning board, I don't have, again, standing in, I don't have a direct answer, so I will follow up and ask him that specifically. And again, for more on information on him and in general, please feel free to visit his website. Also, I've got materials in the back and we'll share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, how do you plan on addressing the issue of crime? And we'll start with Ms. Young and work our way down again.
Addressing the issue of crime. First, I think we're very fortunate to live in a county where crime isn't a #1 issue, but public safety is always a concern for everyone. And I know that as I have been canvassing thousands of residents in District 4, that concern comes up from time to time. And the main concern that seems to be on the minds of residents in District 4 is what I would call petty crime. People breaking into cars, stealing things out of yards, doing illegal substances, smoking weed on paths. Those are the types of things that can degrade a community, and I think one of the important things in dealing with that type of crime is making sure that you don't let it continue, that you address the small things so that they don't become larger things. And I know another big issue here in Howard County is human trafficking. And there has been a human trafficking task force established. I think that we've made a lot of, that we've made some good efforts in trying to deal with it. And I appreciate what Howard County is really, what they're trying to address here. Thanks.
It's important for us to continue to be tough on crime here in Howard County and continue to prosecute even the lowest level offenses, which we do here currently. Currently, we have 474 career police officers in Howard County. And as we continue to increase our development here, we need to make sure that our police force is growing at an equal ratio so that we can maintain the quality of life. Human trafficking is an issue here for us on Route 1. And we have been successful in prosecuting that crime here without a witness, without a victim. So we are making headway here in ways that other places in the country are not. So as far as that goes, I think we're on the right track. The small crimes are the ones that can really affect your quality of life. And we need to make sure that as we are sending our police out, that we are letting them know that we support them, we support their work, and we support them ridding our community of crime, whatever it takes. Thank you.
So I've actually had to deal with this as the Vice President of the Governor's Grant Association. We've had a couple break-ins, we've had cars broken into, we've even had full soda cans thrown through people's windows in my neighborhood. And so one of the things that I've actually done is worked along with the police to get a police car to drive through on the weekends because I'm next to the mall. So I know that our police force needs help, and I've actually talked to them and I've heard that they would actually like 18 new officers is the number that I heard. And this is something that I've spoken with different police officers about, is where would they be stationed, what would they be doing, and they've already have all this planned out, they just lack the manpower. So one of the things that I believe is that as our population has continued to increase, our police force has been lagging behind in personnel. So one of the things we need to do is help the police force so that way they can help us. Thank you.
The research does show that when you increase density, the crime rate does increase because of more places to hide, more places to run and escape. So I think it's really important that we do increase the number of police in our community. One of the things that I would also like to see is affordable housing for our public servants and get the police living in the community, increasing more patrols, and really having more of a sense of community where we have community watches and make sure that people are working together to make sure that we live in a safe community. And especially that goes along with the school safety, increasing patrols around our schools, addressing some of the mental health issues and drug addiction issues that sometimes lead to crime. So those are the issues I'd like to work on.
Well, thank you. Well, safety of our citizens has to be one of the most important functions of an elected official. We should absolutely help police officers. If we need more, we should definitely look at that. And at the same time, we should be taking all the gangs out of our communities. And at the same time, we should also have been looking at human trafficking. And I know that there's been incidents where people within our community have helped the police to identify those people. So we all need to be vigilant in that. Thank you.
Other counties in Maryland include in their adequate public facilities ordinance language requirements that new development also keeps up with the ability to provide police force, fire safety, EMT, hospital capacity. You may recall from last year that the best that we could get out of our own council to improve our APO was to marginally improve the school's effect and to, I'm not even sure it did anything for the road impacts. The next council should look again at APO and ensure that new development is not outpacing the ability to provide fundamental services to its constituents like providing police. That would be one thing I would do. I would say that I'm very surprised as I'm walking through my neighborhoods though and meeting different people as part of this campaign that safety, just personal safety, is a higher priority for them than I recognize. I'm coming back to Howard County from Baltimore City, so the fact that I don't have to take everything out of my car and barricade the house is an improvement for me. But there are a lot of people who don't feel safe in their homes, and I feel like one of the best ways to do that is to increase the number of police that is there serving them day to day.
Hi, for John Weinstein. Public safety is an important focus for John, and dating back to his experience as a military police officer when he was in the U.S. Army Reserves. Things that he's focused on during his first term, strengthening human trafficking laws and funding, as others have mentioned, how important that is for the community. He worked to secure agreement and continued funding for the new Elkridge Fire Station, supported construction for the downtown Columbia Rapid Response Station, and he continues to work with police and community organizations to develop clear and documented policies on how police should be dealing with undocumented residents and create a process for addressing fears within that community. Things that he continues to do and will continue to focus on if re-elected: one, make sure that our police and fire department personnel have the resources and training they need to effectively protect the community. Continue to work on the human trafficking issues with state and federal elected officials, and continue to serve as a liaison between District 1 residents and the police.
Thank you. So regarding crime, first of all, I want to say the attitude towards this question is not to cover it up. We have to recognize that crime is a serious and major issue in this county, especially in my district. As I'm campaigning, I walk to a lot of different corners and different streets in my district, and I have to admit, it is ugly. It is not the perfect Howard that people know. It is not the perfect Howard or the school that people sell. Too often, we may see knife fights. We hear about it, knife fights between two girls in high school. But do we know that there have been repeatedly students throwing chairs at teachers? We don't see that. And there are other cover-ups. There are other issues that have been just hiding and not being reported. And if you just walk across the bridge from here to Oakland Mills, and then you try to find what the police station looks like in Oakland Mills, they sit in the trailer homes. Now, I'm not saying that increasing police presence will reduce crime, but it takes more than that. It takes more than police. So first of all, we need to restore community confidence. Restoring that crime, need the entire community to deal and to fight against. Thank you.
All right, our next question is, what are your thoughts on turning Howard County into a sanctuary county? And we'll start with Ms. Kim this time, and then we'll left.
Thank you very much. I do not support turning any county, city, or state into sanctuary. I believe that it circumvents our immigration laws. We have immigration laws for a reason. We want to control our immigration. In Howard County, we're getting it right though. Everybody's getting representation here. We are not enrolled in the 287G program. For the people who want sanctuary, that gives them representation. We're not hassling immigrants on the street. We're not pulling them over for speeding and asking them for their green cards or what their immigration status is. We're handling immigrations when they're in the jail, immigrants in the jail, and that's the right thing to do. We're not sanctuary county, and that gives the people who don't want sanctuary county representation. And that's what government is. Government is not about winning. It's not about a Democrat getting what they want or a Republican getting what they want. It's about the people getting representation. And Howard County is getting it right. Everybody here is getting representation no matter what your stance is on sanctuary county. Thank you.
I also agree with Ms. Kim. I believe that it does circumvent our system. I think that we have an obligation to protect our citizens, and so if somebody were in jail and they were found to be illegal, then there are courses of action that need to be taken. Now, that being said, I also agree that our police should not be going around and targeting people. I have actually been stopped and asked if I belong here because I was driving through a border checkpoint in Arizona, and I know what it's like to be targeted. To go, oh well, you're brown, so obviously you're an illegal. And trust me, I'm just as much an American as the guy who asked the question. And so I don't think it's right for us to target our citizens, our community. Those laws are there to protect us, not for us to become antagonistic towards immigrants. Thank you.
I would revisit the legislation for a sanctuary city. We're a nation of immigrants. We're a very diverse county. People cannot live in fear of retaliation, bias, and if they do, they're at risk for isolation, they're at risk for poverty, they're at risk for lack of health care. So I think as a county, we need to make sure that everyone here is respected. And also it was Rouse's vision to promote unity and growth, and I think that's the county that we need to be. Thank you.
Wow. Well, as a first-generation immigrant, migrant, legal migrant, I am totally appalled as to what our politicians do out here. This was a slap on my face. Being a legal migrant, I can tell you, and I am empathetic to undocumented people, but at the same time, I do not want any criminals in our society. So I agree what's happening in Howard County at this time. I'm okay with that, and I agree with the policies that we have at this time. Thank you.
CB9 last year was proposed not in a vacuum, but in response to a federal regime that is steeped in hate and racism. It's not all immigrants, and it's certainly not lawful immigrants who are being targeted by the federal government and ICE. It is very specific populations and very specific religions. And for Howard County not to simply codify what already was an existing policy, I feel was a failure on the part of a community to stand up for and say it is not okay to discriminate based on appearance or religion or race or country of origin. We can hash out legal immigration. We can provide adequate law enforcement to protect all of us from crime, but it is not okay to be party to hate. And CB9 and the codification of, again, what already was stated to be county policy should have been more easy. It was disheartening to see both sides of the issue come out as they did and so vociferously. But for me personally and for my community, it was also reassuring to see so many come up and stand out for people who didn't look like them and didn't practice the same religion. And I will continue to do that on the council. Thank you.
John did not support the sanctuary legislation that came before the county in early 2017, but instead he worked hard over the past year with key groups across the county, including FERN, HopeWorks, Indivisible's Immigrant Action Team, Howard County Police, and the county government to work to develop real improvements in the policies and practices on how to deal with the immigrant community in Howard County. And among the results of those discussions and work are a comprehensive new review of county policies to determine opportunities on how to improve interactions with the foreign-born community. A new and comprehensive Howard County Police Department, Ops 10 documentation, documenting how the police should interact with foreign-born people. And this is actually one of the more comprehensive policies in the region for that type of action. An agreement between FERN and the Howard County Police to enable FERN to enhance trust, communication, and engagement with the police and the county's foreign-born community, And John is committed to continuing these efforts and improving this as we go forward.
Thank you, and thank you for all the useful comments. I'm firmly against sanctuary policies. I'm firmly against sanctuary county for Howard County. It took me almost a year after CB9 to understand and to comprehend the mechanism and the reasons why there was a sanctuary proposal. And now, without going into too much details right now, I only ask you to trust me that the sanctuary policy, countywide or statewide, will not bring additional protection. It will not bring more respect for the people that we're trying to protect, that we're trying to add to our community. It is not going to add diversity to our county. It is not going to make us stronger that way. If you would like to know more about my stance on that one, I'll be more than happy to talk with you after the discussion. Thank you.
I think that what Diane has said about John Weinstein's actions after the sanctuary bill has really improved the climate here toward immigrants in Howard County. I think it was important to do what we did in Operations 10, which was to outlaw detainer agreements. But I also think it's important to realize that we are a nation of immigrants and that not arresting people based on their immigration status is critical. I'm not sure that being a sanctuary county would be the best thing, because right now the Trump administration is shining a big spotlight on every jurisdiction that has labeled itself a sanctuary county or city or country or state. And I don't know that we want that spotlight. So long as we have laws in place that will keep the police from going out and arresting people because of their immigration status, I think that we're in fairly good shape. But should that not be the case, then I would certainly consider supporting sanctuary legislation in the future.
All right, thank you. We're going to move to our last audience question now, which is, how will you support the school system's pursuit of additional capital improvement funds? And we'll start with Mr. Moore-Knudsen, and we'll go way down left.
Well, I'd like to say that I support anything that helps our school system. I believe it's our responsibility as a council to look at every available option. Anything that can be done to help our children should be done. Our teachers as well, the staff that works there. I really think that there's so many different ways that we can do that we can take all the ideas that each of us have come up with that we think would be the best way, not just focus on just one, but do all of them, because it's by small and simple things that great things come to pass.
It's always been a challenging question, and I think one of the most important things is to make sure that we lobby our state delegation and the governor to maximize funding for the capital budget for our schools. And as a county council person, make sure that there's equity across the county in terms of our schools and what the priorities are, and make sure that our students, that we don't have overcrowding, and to address those issues. I built the school system. While I was on the Board of Education, we had about 11 schools that got LEED certification while I was on the Board of Education in terms of our school building and our renovations. And I think it's important as a county and as a community that we continue to maintain our high quality standards in the classroom and make sure our facilities are appropriate. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Wow, numbers, that's my game. So impact fees, we have $1.19 per square foot at this time. And also we charge $1.29 per square foot for school fees. So that amounts to about, on the average of a 2,000 square foot home, $4,950 per house built. Now, the issue is, what are we building nowadays? Are we building apartments or are we building McMansions? At this time, we're building apartments. So we need to change our thinking, go back to the basics. Let's start doing is 10,000 per unit built instead of per square footage. That will increase the revenue to about $20 million that we can use for our new schools. We can use for parts, take those parts out and renovate our schools and expand the schools. Thank you.
We have to know what should be in the capital budget to fund it before we can do that. And the planning side of our capital planning is not where it should be. Any scrutiny exposes the fact that the assumptions in terms of what numbers of students will be added by new development are not legitimate, are not verifiable, do not hold up to the slightest bit of questioning. We need to make sure that DPZ, Department of Planning and Zoning, and the Howard County Public School Systems is honest and providing reliable data in terms of where the student population is, where it is expected to be, and where we need to therefore spend money in building new schools or renovating and adding to the ones that we have. I 100% agree that we need to increase the impact charges that are assessed against developers. Earlier this year, the state legislators held a public hearing where opportunity was given for anyone to come and testify about what they might want their state legislators to do. And two of the current council members showed up and implored our state legislators to this last fiscal year implement market value school surcharge fees. The incumbent for District 1 was not one of them.
John's been a consistent proponent, even before taking office, to accelerate the funding and construction for a 13th high school in the eastern part of the county to relieve overcrowding, and he'll continue to focus on that. If reelected, he'll advocate for the funding and acceleration of the construction for the 13th high school to alleviate overcrowding in Howard, Long Reach, and Centennial. And he'll continue to collaborate with state elected officials on reforms for equitable school funding for Howard County and improvements in our authority to enable appropriate local control of education. And again, I invite you to get more details on his specific positions at his website. Vote number 4, John, J-O-N.
Thank you. So as we stand right now, the county's revenue, 50%, roughly 50% comes from property taxes. 40% come from income taxes. That's about 90% of the revenue, source of revenue. I don't think anybody here would like to see an increase in either one of those two. So instead, where are we going to get new money? We can get new money by getting more people to come to the county and buy houses. So we get more houses and more property tax and more income taxes that way. But I don't think we're going to like that because we already have overcrowding problems everywhere. Second, then what can we do? Then we have to look for job opportunities by creating more opportunities for residents here and also professionals and other residents coming from other county to work. So I would say this is probably the best way forward is creating more businesses and small business to diversify our county revenue, and then we can get stronger source of revenue for school, capital constructions, and maintenance works. Thank you.
I agree that we need to diversify our tax base because without the growth in commercial taxes, it will be impossible to increase the amount of money that we're putting into capital improvement funds for the school budget. I think it's also important for us to focus on what may be coming out of the Kirwan Commission next year. Some of you may have been hearing about this. This is a huge initiative in the state of Maryland where they're going to be making recommendations regarding schools all over the state of Maryland. And whoever becomes the governor next year will be carrying out those recommendations. So it's also critical for you to be looking at who is running for governor and what their views are on the Kirwan Commission recommendations, which means that we also need to focus on our state legislators and get them to bring back more money to Howard County. We are the fastest growing county in the state of Maryland and have been for 10 years, adding 1,000 students every single year, and the projection for this past year was 1,600. So we need to have the capital improvement funds here in Howard County. Make sure you talk to your legislators and pay attention to this issue when you're selecting who will be your next governor.
Thank you very much. So we have a $1.76 billion budget coming up. And this is one of the reasons why I support this zero-based budgeting. If we were to go to zero-based budgeting and do a reset on our spending, we will find a lot of money. We also need to stop rezoning commercial property into residential because we're taking away that tax base that doesn't use services in the schools. It's also important for us to not give away $90 million to a developer who's having cash flow problems, because what we have done is we have removed $90 million that we were able to spend somewhere else, like the schools. So with the zero-based budgeting, with reprioritizing our spending, not messing with our commercial zoning, we can find a lot of money. We also need to make sure that that casino money is going on top of the money that we already have. Now, one of the games that was played against us by our politicians to get us to approve the casino was that money was going to go to our schools. And that money did indeed go to our schools, but what they failed to tell us was they were going to remove the money that was already there and replace it with the casino money, so we got no additional money. So we need to pay attention to what's going on, and we need to vote people in who understand the budget and who understand how politicians like to spend your money in their interests and not yours. Thank you.
All right, thank you, audience, for your questions and candidates for your responses. Unfortunately, we're reaching the end of our time, so we want to give the opportunity for candidates to give a 1-minute closing statement. So again, we'll start with Ms. Siddiqui and work our way across the table.
Thank you for having me here today. Janet Siddiqui, County Council District 4, Democrat. My experience in public service and as a physician has always been about diversity and inclusion. As a pediatrician and as a physician, anybody who walks into my door, there's no bias. I treat everyone the same. And that's what I want to do as your representative on the county council. I want to treat everyone exactly the same. I've been endorsed by our former county executive and former state senator, Jim Roby. Jim was a police officer here in the county and then county executive and went on to be the majority leader in the state senate. Jim, like me, is unbiased. He believes in doing what's right for the community, and that's what I'm going to do what's right for the community. And so if you want an elected official to represent you who's going to do what's right for the community, I'm your candidate. Thank you.
Ni hao. I'm Ian Moeller Knudsen, again running for County Council District 4. The things that I want to leave you with are, I'm here to be a public servant, I'm here to serve you. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to try and increase the police to make sure that our community is safe. I'm going to make sure that we're able to afford our school system, whether that's through doing more commercial development versus residential, or the other things that we've talked about here today. These are all issues that I've looked into, that I'm looking into, and that I will continue to look into for you. I wanted to say xie xie to the Chinese for hosting this wonderful event. And again, Ian Knudsen, County Council District 4.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Kim. I'm your candidate in District 4, and I mean that in every sense of the word. I think what you've seen here today is that there's really no lack of people who are qualified to serve you on the county council, but it's the foundation. Are they serving you, or are they serving interests that are beyond you? And what I promise you is that I serve us and only us. I will give you all the information. I will give you the real information, and I will not play games with you. There will be no political ambition above you. There will be no re-election leverage above you. There will be not one single special interest above you, above us, above our children, our communities, and our county. I serve you, and I serve only you. And you can always count on me to be there for you. Thank you.
I want to thank CAPA for inviting us here today. We appreciate it. I am, as I mentioned earlier, a 30-year resident of this community, living right down the street. I've been involved in the community during all that period of time, serving on the PTAs at Clements Crossing and Harper's Choice, and as the Booster Club president at Wild Lake High School. I'm an attorney, and I've been practicing law for 31 years, 25 of which I was representing, and still am, small nonprofit organizations. I understand what it means to be a community. I have represented communities in the nonprofit arena, and I know what people need. I would like to represent this group as well in District 4. I hope that if elected to the County Council, that you will feel free to talk to me, to visit with me, to call me, and to know that I will always be available. Having gone out and canvassed 7,000 voters, I know the importance of actually talking to the people in the community. I appreciate your support. Deb Young, J-U-N-G. Thank you.
谢谢大家。我今天站在这里呢，代表大家，或者是代表第2区的选民 ，run for county council， 不是因为我有特别勇敢，或我有什么过人之处。我今天站在这边选这个，其实我就是做大家的铺路石，因为我觉得我们华人在这边来这边已经很不容易了，在这边生活更困难。现在呢，地方政治跟我们的生活息息相关，已经是就是说没有办法分开的。我们必须开始注重，就是说地方政治跟他们对我们生活的一切的关系。所以这就是为什么我今天开始待在这边，我们必须开始进入这个程序，开始就是说，在所有人面前，整个康里面前做我们该有的 demonstration。Now, to all of you, especially to my fellow friends in District 2, before I continue, I want to mention 2 people who are very special to me. First, Ms. Robinson. Please stand up if you would. She's a BOE candidate, a resident of Long Reach, and then Mr. Larry Predlow. Delegate candidate, also a resident of Oakland Mills. Thank you to you for coming over today. Thank you for your support. Now, before we're candidates, we're residents of District 2. Now, what does that mean? District 2 is, to me at least, we're not in considerations. We're not in the council. We are somewhat disenfranchised. So I am running to make a difference, and I promise you, I will not fail you in this campaign. So work together with